Marcell de Vries, who is the co-founder and partner of 2140 Consulting and Ruby, and he will be talking about security token offerings. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcell de Vries, and I am one of the founding partners of 2140 Consulting. We are a Benelux-based company specialized in tokenized security offerings, and we support companies from all over Europe as well as beyond with their tokenization projects. Think about real estate, art, renewable energy, but also tech companies looking to raise funds. Just go one back. And we help them from the ideation stage to the actual design, setup, token sale, all the way up to and including the secondary market. We are also a JV partner at Ruby, but I'll get back to that in a couple of minutes. So to explain what security tokens are, let me start by giving you an overview that we have created. It's a simplified overview of some of the various token types that are out there. And a small disclaimer for the tech people in the room, this is a simplified overview. It's non-exhaustive, but it really helps to understand what is the difference with other types of tokens. So, the first generation cryptocurrency was mainly used as a store of value. The most famous example, of course, is Bitcoin, which is often referred to as the digital gold. Then came the second generation with the introduction of the smart contracts. You had the utility tokens. And a good example of utility tokens is the Binance coin, where if you trade on the Binance exchange, if you decide to use the Binance coin, BNB, to pay for your transaction fees, you actually get a discount. So there's a real utility. So you see that utility tokens are mainly used for loyalty programs and for in-app or on-platform purchases. Then we have the stablecoins. The stablecoins, also pretty well known, often pegged to a different currency, for example, the US dollar. And they are used as a form of payment, as well as a medium of exchange. So you see a lot of traders actually moving in and out of the volatile crypto market by exchanging their crypto for fiat. Well, not real fiat, but at least something representing the value of fiat. And then we have NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Well, with non-fungible tokens, they are used to represent ownership. Not real ownership, but I'll get to that in a minute often, but ownership in mainly digital assets. Why do I say ownership? Because today it proves very difficult to actually legally enforce the ownership of an NFT. And then came the third generation tokens, security tokens, or tokenized securities as I like to call them. And these are actual financial instruments, so they are already regulated and fall under the same regulatory rules and framework as traditional securities, like, for example, debt or equity, stocks, bonds, etc. The advantage of this is that as an investor, you are much better protected than with the first and second generation tokens, which are largely unregulated. So if something goes wrong, it's much easier to go after the person where it went wrong and try to get your money back. And therefore, security tokens are a really good tool for investment, and that's what it's mainly being used for. Now, any asset, anything of value, think about, as I said, it could be real estate, it could be intellectual property, it could be patents. Anything of value can be tokenized. And why is that? Well, simple fact that any company or any asset, anything of value, can be put under the ownership of a company. And in turn, that company can issue securities or financial instruments. And therefore, any asset really can be tokenized. There are different types of tokens, security tokens. So you have debt tokens, which represent traditional debt. Often you have a maturity date, which is set, for example, 5 or 10 years. You will have an interest, can be fixed and or variable based on performance. And on the other hand, you have equity tokens. And equity tokens, as the word says, represent equity. So you're looking more at dividend payments, for example. With that in mind, it's not so surprising that the Boston Consulting Group concluded in their very conservative estimate that by 2030, about 10% of the global GDP will be tokenized. And this number can, or percentage can go up to actually 40+%. Now, what are some of the benefits of tokenization? Why would you do this, and why would you not just go to the traditional securities? Well, first of all, and this is by far the most important one for us, this is really what we try to achieve with 2140, is the financial inclusion. So take the real estate example today. If you want to invest in real estate, let's say a single family house, you need, what is it, 250, 300, 400K? It's nothing, right? But who has that laying around? With security tokens and with tokenization, you can actually fractionalize those assets and divide them in as many pieces as you like. And therefore, you can make it available for everyone to invest from amounts, let's say, €100 each. And you can sell them really by token. So this way, if you imagine, it's really making available investment in asset classes that up to today were only available for the happy few. And you can make them available to anyone, so the happy many, basically everyone with an internet connection. That's pretty amazing. Another advantage is the liquidity and the efficiency. So a traditional stock exchange generally operates only during working hours, but digital exchanges can operate 24/7. And provided that you have sufficient liquidity, and this is something that needs to grow, of course, because security tokens are quite new. There are only very few security token exchanges in Europe at the moment, so the liquidity is not quite there yet, have to be honest here. But assuming there is enough liquidity, you can basically decide on a Saturday evening at 11 p.m. that you want to get out of a certain asset. Try to do that with a real estate project that has yet to be developed, or try to do that with a VC investment, where usually your funds are stuck for 5 to 10 years. And finally, the flexibility. As an issuer, you can really design the token any way you like. Do you want to exclude people from certain countries? You can do so. Would you like to limit the maximum percentage that someone can have as a token? For example, 10% is the maximum that you can have as a single investor. That's possible. What is the return on investment? And what prerequisites need to be completed or fulfilled before that return is paid out? All this you can basically embed in the tokens thanks to these smart contracts. So there you hear also that the security tokens are using the technology of the other types of tokens with the smart contracts, but then they add this security layer on top, which make them a security and a financial instrument with all the benefits that come with it. Now, it's important to point out that other than, let's say, general cryptocurrency tokens, there is more to it than just creating a smart contract and deploying it on the blockchain. If you want to do a successful STO, you need to think of a lot of other factors and ecosystem partners. You really need to build your own ecosystem. And what we do with our clients is we help them to define, out of all these components that you see here, and there are quite a lot, which ones are relevant for their project, which ones are must-have, nice-to-have, and which ones can be omitted for a certain project. Take, for example, the legal framework. Very important if you want to do a tokenization. And this very much depends on what you want to tokenize, what's the value that you want to tokenize, where do you want to issue your tokens from, who do you want to sell your tokens to, where do you want to sell your tokens. For example, if you want to sell only to qualified investors, it's relatively easy. But once you start selling to consumers, that's where things get complicated. And you need to take into account the consumer protection laws. If you go above 5 to 8 million, depending on the country where you want to sell your tokens at, you have to issue a prospectus, which is a disadvantage as it takes more time and money. But on the other hand, there is an advantage to it that once you have a prospectus approved in one country, you can generally passport it to all the other EU countries. So there are a lot of factors to consider. Another one is the security broker. So if you want to sell, let's say you want to raise 50 million euro in tokens, or you want to raise 50 million and sell tokens from professional investors. Are you going to do that by yourself? You have a big network where you can find that money? Or do you want to use a security broker? And then the last one I want to point out is KYC. So as I said, it's not only rights that you get with dealing with financial instruments. There is also obligations and rules that you have to follow. So the KYC is one important one, where every investor that wants to onboard on your platform and wants to buy your tokens needs to be KYC verified. And there is a big difference if you want to KYC someone who invests 5,000 euros versus someone who wants to invest 200,000 euros. And we help clients to see what is necessary and define the proper process for that. Now, I mentioned Ruby in the beginning. This is a museum-worthy art and collectibles security tokenization platform that we launched. And what we do here is we help museums all over Europe and beyond, eventually, to expand their collection with masterpieces. And as you may know, museums generally don't have large budgets, so they really have an issue expanding their collection. And what we do is, by raising funds from both public and private investors, we make it possible for them to continue to expand their collection. Second is that we want to bring back cultural heritage to the public eye. Many paintings are hidden in private cellars, for example, or free ports, and by tokenizing them and putting them back in the museum for display, anyone can admire them. And finally, by making the investment amount really small, for Ruby it's 150 euros, the minimum amount, we really make investment available for everyone. So that's the democratization of investment that we find so important, is really embedded in this project. And if you go to this website today, you see the painting actually. This is a James Ensor painting that we tokenized, the first one we did. It's currently for display at the KMSKA, so the Royal Museum of Fine Arts in Antwerp. And if you go to the website, register, go through the KYC process, you can actually buy tokens today from as little as 150 euros, if you'd like. So it's real. It's not just the future. It's real. It's happening today. To conclude, just a couple of examples. I don't want to go through them one by one, but I just wanted to show that the real estate market, traditionally very illiquid. And it's all started in 2017, mainly in the US, and that's also when we got involved. But now we see it really kicking off in Europe as well as in Belgium, which we are very happy to see. But it's not only real estate. There are other sectors involved, as I mentioned in the introduction. And these are some cool platforms that try to facilitate crowdfunding or non-crowdfunding, lending activities, for example, to find funding for startups or for certain projects. And Birsa, one of our clients, is a good example of a platform actually from Belgium that who plan to start to make it possible for startups to get on board on the platform and start raising funds. Now, I can continue to talk about this subject for hours if needed, but I only got 15 minutes today. So I would like to leave it with that and wish you all a very pleasant and informative rest of your day. And once again, thank you.